works. We are live. I love it. Ladies, we are so excited to be here today to announce the launch of this book, Midlife Reimagined. And we have some of the ladies who are in this book who share their stories of midlife. And, midlife is a time where I remember when I was younger, I used to think that like 30 was midlife. I thought that was old. And then I hit 30 and I was like, oh, this isn't old at all. Then I hit 40 and I was like, oh, this isn't old at all. Like as I keep going through my life, I just don't ever feel like I'm old. Kind of like Benjamin Button, but I'm increasing in age, but I feel like I'm decreasing in mentality or something. I don't know. But I'm like just opening up more to being who I am. And this is an amazing time of discovery. Those of you who are in midlife right now, if you're starting to feel like, things are going the wrong way, or you're starting to feel like life's over or what have you, I want you to really pay attention to today's topic. We're going to be talking about midlife and how these ladies here have reimagined their lives to something different, something completely different than they even ever imagined when they were younger. And so this is what I love about, for me, what I love about this midlife time in my life is that I'm growing constantly, like constantly changing my mindset and moving into different things, doing exciting different things in my life and really open to what's out there for me. And so excited to introduce you to, some of these are just some of the ladies here that we have with us. And Erica, make sure you bring out your little guys. They're so cute. They're so cute. I just love them. So I'm going to have everybody go around and just, introduce yourselves first, a little bit about yourself. And then we're going to talk a little bit about their chapters. Then we're going to talk more about midlife. So again, if you're watching this, please really listen to what they're talking about and what they have to share here with you today, because there might be something that somebody says that sparks an interest for you and helps you to see that a door has been opened in your life, especially in this midlife time. So let's start, first of all, with the curator of the book, Kathy Dirksen. Kathy, I'm going to spotlight you, and I just want you to tell everybody, a little bit about yourself, okay?
Sure. And it's always exciting to be here. And the fun thing is, here we are, December 23rd, and this is actually the 23rd anthology that I have contributed to. And of the ones that I have created and curated, this is my 9th book. So it's always very exciting. And I congratulate all of the ladies that are in this book. It's very inspiring. And one of the books we launched last year was called Midlife Awakening. And actually Kay was in that one too. And so Midlife Awakening, now we're Midlife Reimagining. And so now I'm still thinking about what that next midlife, will it be reignite? Will it be rewire? Will it be stay tuned? And yes, and like Linda said, this whole thing about reimagining our midlife. Lately I've been saying, if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I was going to become a published author, if I was going to start actually publishing books and creating books, I literally would have laughed at you, because there was nothing in my past, there was nothing on my bucket list that really led in this direction. So it really was about following doors that opened for me, following intuition and inspiration, and stepping into new opportunities and possibilities and communities that I'd never even met before. And now I've created a whole new life that is all about creating books and opportunities like this for people to become published authors and really share their story. So congratulations, everyone.
Awesome, Kathy. And it's funny because in the business world, a lot of times they'll ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I ask myself now, why would I limit myself to where I can see myself? Because today I can only see so far, but tomorrow I might meet somebody, a door might open, you just don't know what's going to happen that can take you on a completely different trajectory. And, hopefully it's expanding what you're doing today, because that's what I'm working on, is staying in my own lane. That's been a challenge for me. But that the idea of knowing where I'm going to be in 5 years is really impossible. I can have a desire and a dream, but I might have a different desire and dream a year from now. So this is really an exciting time for us, I think, for us to be able to make these shifts in our life and to live the life that we truly want to live. So thank you, Kathy, for bringing this book to us. And if you have an idea of what her next book should be, Midlife X, whatever that X is, drop it in the comments. And if you ladies have an idea of what you want it to be, share with us today. No pressure. But if you have an idea, like just share with Kathy, help her to see like what her next midlife book should be about. So next I'm going to bring up Sue. Sue, go ahead and unmute yourself and share with us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be part of this book. To be honest, I had many people had told me I should write a book and I'd always resisted. And then I met Kathy and we just had it. And I told her up front, I'm not really interested. At the end of it, I was signed up for one of her books. And this just called to me because I literally had a huge midlife transition. I had had a successful career in tech for decades, but I wasn't feeling inspired. And I ended up having a couple of life quakes happen. I talk about it in the book. And I realized that my calling was to become a coach, and that was 12 years ago. And now I help women and men who are feeling uninspired, feeling stuck, not ready to retire, but not sure what that next chapter looks like. I help them, take them through a process of, first of all, understanding if they're ready to make the change, and then what the steps are involved, and also the pitfalls. So that's my passion. It's what I love doing. I have a special, I guess, soft spot for people in STEM. It's a tough career, always changing. And the other thing is imposter syndrome is a big thing that can hold us back. So I help people understand if you're dealing with imposter syndrome and that's stopping you from making that change, help you overcome it, and then start living that more inspired life. That's me.
Awesome, Sue. I love it. I do want to ask before we go to our next lady here is what has been, and I'm putting her on the spot here, by the way. So she, okay, so what has been for you the most rewarding part of the work you do? Because you had the STEM world, right, for so many years, and then now you moved into a completely different space. What has been the most rewarding part of doing the coaching? 12 years of it, so you've got lots to choose from here.
To be quite honest, the most wonderful part for me is where I help people reconnect with themselves and understand how truly unique and remarkable they are. Because it's so easy to downplay our skills, and I coach on a particular coaching session on strengths, and at the end of it, I play back what we've uncovered, and people go, "Is that really me?" And I say, "Well, isn't it?" And they go, "Well, yeah, but I don't really think of myself that way." So I love giving them that inspiration and recognizing how much they have to offer the world and then helping them explore how they're going to do that. That's the most rewarding part of the job for me. Thank you for
That's
asking. That's a
cool.
great question.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool because you get to experience that with every single person, right? And then I can imagine that just brings a lot more joy into your own life as well.
Absolutely. It just gives me a lot of joy. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah,
Linda.
well,
That's
you're welcome. Thanks for sharing your story in this book, Midlife Reimagined. You guys, you can get a copy of the book at actiontakerspublishing.com/books or /midlife. Head on over there and get your copy. And I'm going to bring up our next guest, who is Beverly Howard. Beverly, go ahead and unmute yourself. And I'm going to add you up here and go ahead and share with us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be a part of this collaboration. Just like Sue, I was resistant to writing any part of this book. And like she said, Kathy just was so convincing and so warming and really just made you feel that it's going to be okay. We're going to help you all every step of the way. So that was the reason why I stepped into it. Also, this is not my first collaboration. And the difference between the previous one and this one is I feel more of a part of it. I was a part of a collaboration where I'm in the book, Put Me in Coach, which is talking about me as a Toastmaster coach. And that's pretty much where I am now, helping speakers. But being in this book, it helped me to really be a part, and Linda and her staff and everyone just made it seem seamless, and it made it interesting in that the part that I missed in the first one, I'm able to see and be able to see how this process really works and really have fun and enjoy the process. So as far as who I am a public speaking coach. I have been coaching for a number of years. I'm not going to say how many, but I I like to help speakers not just speak, but create a experience. I feel that whenever you're speaking, you always want to make people remember you and the experience that you put them through, no matter what the topic. And that comes from my experience in theater and production and all of the things. And I just recently put it all together and realized that this is what I enjoy doing. This is my passion. And this is what I help people to do. Don't just speak, create an experience.
Oh, that's so fantastic. I
Mhm.
love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I'm curious. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, and you may not have the answer for it, but I'm gonna put you on the spot because you're a speaker. So speakers speak, right? Okay,
Yes.
what has been the most embarrassing experience you've had doing the work you do?
Okay, embarrassing. Hmm. See, that's tough. That's tough. That's tough. I want to
Let's do
say,
inspiring. If
let's
you want
let's
to do,
do.
okay, embarrassing
I
or inspiring, you can choose.
let's. I think embarrassing for me would be I was doing a presentation with another speaker, and we were doing a workshop on storytelling. And during the process, we decided not to work together ahead of time and decide who's going to say what when. And during whenever we were speaking and presenting, we were stepping on top of each other. We had a certain amount of time and we had timers, and I'm paying attention to the timer. The other speaker is going on and on and on, and I'm trying to get all of the information in. And I found that when we got our evaluations, outside of what people told me in person, where and after the workshop, they told me that they got the most value from what I gave, but in the evaluation, it said that we can tell that these two speakers were not in sync. They were stepping on each other's feet. And so I found that to be embarrassing and that I don't like being in a situation like that. But this is the way it turned out because that's the way he wanted it. So.
And what'd you do with all that information later?
Well, I look at all of these things as lessons learned. And the lesson that I learned from that is to present by myself. It's like, if I'm going to be embarrassed, I need to be the only one being embarrassing myself. So that was the one lesson that I learned. But also, I felt good in knowing that even though I had to do it in the way that I did it by stepping on him, that people still got value. So it made
Ah,
me feel good knowing that. But yes. Mm,
maybe part of the value is they learn not to speak with somebody else
mm,
too.
I hope so.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking that step, talking about Kathy and how, she helped you to see how, like joining this book would be a benefit. And so thank you for the, joining us and having the experience and sharing your experience with us. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Mhm.
Okay, next up, I'm going to bring up, let's see, Dr. Erica. Dr. Erica, go ahead and unmute yourself and share with us a little bit about yourself.
Yay! Thank you so much. So excited for this book. It's on my desk and I can't stop reading it. I've gone through it twice already. There are, oh, just so many good stories in there. Well, I'm Dr. Erica Buckholtz. I help people with burnout because it's really awful. And I've been through it and no one was there to support me out of it. I had no idea what to do, and that was really hard. So now I help other humans to do the same thing. And what's really wild to me about burnout is that you can get out of it by playing, and you can get out of it with lightness, and it doesn't have to be arduous. And so my chapter really goes into some of the phrases that people just say, not even realizing, that kind of compound and make things feel heavier without them even realizing they're doing it, and how to kind of turn that around and how to use that to bring out what's actually inside of us. Because holy moly, ladies, we are amazing. And oh my gosh, we have so many good things to do here. And I'm so excited that I get to share one of those stories in this book. So thank you both, Linda and Kathy. Oh my gosh, for this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And now you mentioned your burnout, and I just would love for you to share with us, like, what would be your number one tip? Let's say that, because I think I'm imagining, and I'm just speaking
Mhm.
from my own self, is that I don't really know I'm in burnout until I've gotten like to the point of overboiling. So I would love for you to share with us, what is a tip that you have for us that we maybe don't get to that point, or maybe we can start to recognize we're moving into a place of burnout. Number one tip.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it is restoration. And I had no idea how to do this at first, but because rest, that word is a hot one for me. Like, I don't have any time to rest. Are you joking? Like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for a
Mm.
hobby. I don't have any time for this. But restoring ourselves, that I could do. Restoration can be eating good, healthy foods that make my body feel good. Restoration can be looking out the window or watch out, going outside for a walk, right? Like restoration is just about how do you fill yourself back up again? And you don't have to get all the way back up to the top, full energy, full repair. Just how do you restore just a tiny little bit right now? So the number one tip is take a deep breath, my sweet friend. Just one single deep breath, one really good deep breath. And if you would like to make it sweet and Erica style, you can giggle on the way out. So you just breathe in and giggle it out. And you feel better. And that is plenty, whether you are headed towards burnout or you're already in there.
That's awesome. I love that. I love to giggle, so I'll have to take that one under consideration for sure. And one of the things I that you made me think about is that one of the things I do is I love to pet my dog. So I'll just, just even if I have him when I'm working, I'll just even pet him, and that really helps to bring me to a place. And I think what you just helped me discover or realize for myself is that burnout piece, it doesn't necessarily mean it's like something that takes weeks or months to create. I mean, it can happen any day, at any time, and it doesn't have to build. It can be instant. And then what you shared with me made me realize that I don't have to take weeks, months, years in order to calm it back down, is that I can do something instantly. So thank you for sharing that. And I love your giggle. Do it
Absolutely.
again. Do
What
your
can I say? Okay,
breathe
deep breath
giggle.
in and giggle it out.
My gosh,
Real
so
or
funny.
fake, it all still totally counts. So, yes.
I love that. I love that. Who else did that with her? I did. You guys heard me do it. And so what we're going to do next is, for those who are not on screen, I won't be bringing you on screen until you are there. There we go. Raquel. Awesome. Raquel, I'm going to go and spotlight you. So unmute yourself. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself. Raquel?
Hi, I'm Raquel Foster, and I would say, someone who have definitely reimagined her life. I work in journalism after going back to school in my 30s and getting my degree. I'm also a writer, and I've come to realize really a creative. I also sing, and I used to dance in my past life. And now I'm dumping my creativity into music and writing, and I'm an empath. Like, I really connect with people and help them get through some of their tough struggles that I recognize on them, even if it's a stranger.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just to put you on the spotlight here, you want to sing something for us?
um, yeah, you could be. Oh, I have to think about that.
Oh, please. Oh, you want to come back in just a minute after Susan?
Sure. Let me come up with something.
Awesome. I can't wait. And if you want to scat about Midlife Reimagine, you can do that too.
I know, right? Okay, that's a good spotlight, though. I'll do that.
Okay, good. I'm going to bring you back up after Susan, okay?
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Who is excited to hear Raquel sing? Woo, woo. I certainly am. I cannot wait. No pressure, Raquel. No pressure. But you're used to it. You're used to it. Okay, next I'm going to bring up Susan. Susan, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and share with us a little bit about you. And I'm going to remove myself. Susan,
All right. Is it me or the other Susan?
you're the Susan. She's the Sue.
Okay. All right. Well, I rushed home to get here from the gym, so that's why I look what I look like, but that's my commitment and discipline, so it doesn't matter what I look like. So what did you want? You wanted to know something about me or something?
Yeah, introduce yourself.
All right, so I'm from New Jersey and it's snowing out right now and it's just gorgeous, just in time for Christmas. And okay, so that behind me, the beauty, well, you can't see it, but I'm a rapid transformational therapist, as you read in the Midlife Reimagined, and here it is. I know, and Erica, thank you for that shout out. So what I do is in 2 hours I can heal people from anxiety and depression and any addiction and insomnia and procrastination and motivation, but whatever the issue is, and of course the more severe the issue, like let's say it's PTSD or maybe if it's cancer, it can take up to 6 sessions, but most issues just 2 hours. And so I know I heard you ask someone about, I think it's a year ago, when your issue is overblown, like you're just not aware and you don't know what to do. Well, if you're going to come to me, by the time you've come to me, most of my clients, they've been in therapy for decades. They've tried everything, every drug, they've tried, you name all the holistic avenues that people can take. So they're very aware of when the triggers occur. So once you're aware of the triggers, this is what I get my clients to originally begin is put their hand on their heart and say to themselves, I am kind to me. Because most of us are so into judgment and we have that inner critic. And usually that's when whatever the trigger is, it's going to start to occur. And most of the time, I'm going to say 99% of the time, it happens because of something in childhood that lives in your subconscious, you're totally unaware of. And what I do is I get you into a hypnosis where I uncover that subconscious and I bring it up to the consciousness. See, it's not until it gets to the consciousness that you can make any decision. Because if it's living in your nervous system and it's been there for 50, 60, 70 years, you're just so unaware of it. So you get into the alpha theta state, which is hypnosis. I get you to get the insights, the aha moments. Once you can relate that aha moments to when you decided, because it always starts with a thought. We think thoughts come to us and it just happens and we're on autopilot and they just drift in and out and we have nothing to do with them. Wrong. We choose them. Maybe subconsciously, unconsciously, we don't even are aware of them. But once you're aware, that is when you can make different choices. You know, it could be just with anything, like whether you sleep or don't sleep, whatever the addiction is of the du jour of the day, because we have sometimes more than one addiction. So that's what I do. I get you back to your childhood when you decided whatever it is that you don't want, or maybe you have something that you either don't want or you don't have something that you do want, but whichever it is, that's what I get you to uncover and dissolve. And
Fantastic.
That's what I do.
Thank you for sharing that. That reminds me of a little ditty I wrote called Awareness. I have awareness. I have awareness now. I have awareness. Oh, now brown cow. I have awareness. I have awareness now. It's time for me to move on like Donkey Kong.
No, but you really have to pause, put your hand on your heart and say, I am kind to me. Or you might ask yourself or tell yourself, I can care for myself. I am with myself. I love myself. Because it's that disconnect is usually where the triggers occur. From when we were little, like we don't think we're deserving, we don't think we're worthy, important, not enough, and you fill in the adjective. It starts when you're a little kid. And we push it down, we suppress it, and that's why it lives in the nervous system. But you have to
Right.
bring
It's
it
time
up.
midlife is when we start to come into awareness. I think that's the kind of like the age that we do that. So thank you so much for sharing your story in this book, Midlife Reimagined, and congratulations on
Thank you.
being
Thank you.
a number
And
one international
happy.
best-selling author.
How do I get that on my marketing thing? It doesn't say it like I see it on somebody else's.
We'll share that later, after, because right now we're doing the kickoff right now. So
Okay.
we'll share that later, okay, inside of the group. Raquel, here we come. We're bringing Raquel to the
I
spotlight.
don't know if you saw my note, but I'm in the office, so it's going to be very difficult for me to sing.
Okay, but
Oh,
you're going to do it anyway, right?
Um,
a cappella.
You
no,
can
I don't mind
whisper
doing a
sing.
cappella, but I'm in the office, like literally in the office. I'm going to be whispering.
Yeah, like a
Um,
whisper sing.
okay. Isn't it rich? Are we a pair? Leaving me here on the ground, you in midair, sending the clowns. That's it.
Oh my God, I love that. And I love that song. Is that Barbara Streisand?
Yep,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a great song. Thank you
it's a
so
great
much. You have a
song.
beautiful voice. And thanks for
Thank
gracing
you.
us with it and gracing your office with it too.
And I know they're gonna be like, who's in there?
Exactly. Who's she singing for?
Who is she
She
singing
must
for?
she must be having a really stressful day. She's singing to herself now.
Hey, but
So
I
we,
did it, and that's a
yeah,
challenge, so
thank you. Thanks for doing, just like doing. And a lot
yeah,
of times people would be like embarrassed or what have you. And that's the
yeah,
thing I think about midlife that brings us a little bit into a different space, headspace, is that
yeah,
we know, as Beverly was mentioning, like if I'm going to be embarrassed, I want to embarrass myself. I don't want it to be
yeah,
because I'm like, speaking with somebody else. And to move
yes,
ourselves into this place of potential embarrassment, gosh,
yes.
if I were out there every day in the world every day, because I spend a lot of time at home nowadays, but if I were out there in the world every single day, I'd be embarrassing myself every day. I do it every time. Every time we go grocery shopping,
But
I'm
I
embarrassing
found
my
that
husband.
my growth comes after my embarrassment.
Oh
Like
yeah.
my growth doesn't come when I'm safe. It comes, the embarrassment is because I put myself out there, right? So that's where I find my growth comes from. It comes after that, right? So at this point now, calling a midlife, what I've come to find out for me is when I have the most intrepid feeling, or when the hair on my arms are up because I'm scared, it means that that's what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I use as my signal now to just lean in, and I'll be in embarrassment after, but then a month later I'll think back on it and go, wow, look how much growth came from that.
Uh,
So,
this is so good. Well, you've helped me to move into the next topic because I did write a book called Do It Because You're Scared,
mhm,
exactly by what you're saying. It's like, it's the fear or the fear of embarrassment. Like, what are they going to
mhm,
think about me? How are they going to judge me? And it's
correct.
like, that's our signal to say, do it, because that's the reason we need to do it. And so I love how you brought us, into that topic. So thank you so much. Would anybody like to share their thoughts on that, or an experience that you want to talk about of moving through that embarrassment, putting yourself out there? What are you doing differently in midlife that you didn't do when you were younger, because maybe you did have fear of what people were going to think about you? So would anybody like to share? Just raise your hand like this and I'll make a note of who raised their hand. Nobody? I'm going to call on Kathy because she unmuted herself first, and then Erica. Kathy.
All right. Well, I wouldn't say it was an embarrassment. I would say it was more just an idea and a fear of doing that totally new thing, but doing it anyways. And pushing through that fear, and like Sue talks about with the imposter syndrome, like getting through that messy middle and coming out the other end. And like Raquel was saying, there's that growth that comes with it. There's that shift in our belief in ourself, in our confidence, and what we see as possible. And to me, that's where a lot of my growth has come over the last, I'd say, 10 years or so, of just having this idea, having an inspiration, and just jump and trust the parachute will open.
I guess as long as it's not a real jumping out of a plane, right? Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And then Erica, you raised your hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and then Sue next.
Yeah, I mean, the title of my chapter is Don't Get Too Excited, because that's the message I've received all of my life. And I had to, on purpose, do the opposite of that a lot of times in order to show up as my playful, excited, yellow wearing self. Like, past Erica has no idea who this lady is, right? This lady who, right now, on a call of grown up women, professional women, who's going to pull out her stuffies right now. They are my emotional support chicken nuggets. And they sit here and they have personalities. And it's things like this that I now help people with. Like, get excited about who you are and what feels right to you. If it's not stuffed animals, that's totally fine, right? That's my thing right now, but it doesn't have to be yours. And leaning into who am I and who do I want to be and how do I want to show up? And can a professional woman have stuffed animals on her desk? Like, is that okay? Yeah, apparently so. Because look, I got a book. I wrote a book, so I'm a professional lady and I have stuffies. So it must be true that you can do this. So I am all about that message of it. It's messy in the middle and the fear and worry about what will these people think of me if I show up as me? That's everything. Like that's all the stuff. That is the stuff that we work on in coaching. That's what I help with parents with because they have the same concerns, right? I have to look a certain way as a parent. What if my kid is having a tantrum in the middle of the grocery store? Yeah, totally. So how do you lean in and realize, okay, so what does this mean about me? What does this mean about my kid? What does it mean about my parenting? And or maybe the kid's real tired and they need a snack. You're in the grocery store, go get a snack. Right? That's perfect. Right? And so how do you kind of come to the place where you know who you are? That's what I love to help people with. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And are those really called emotional support
Yeah, there's
chicken
emotional
nuggets?
support nuggets. You can purchase them online, and they all have their own little personality and everything. They all have a different little face. So, but depending what kind of support you need in the moment, maybe you need the sunglasses dude in the moment. So that's the one you hang out with and talk to. Yes.
Those are so funny. I'm glad you brought them out because I like them. I think they're so cute.
Yes.
Okay, so next up, Sue, we're talking about, embarrassing, moving through life and not allowing embarrassment to stop us from moving forward. And I know, Sue, you talk about imposter syndrome. So this is a perfect topic related to that because I think imposter syndrome a lot of times is caused by our embarrassment of not being good enough, right? Or something. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. For those, I mean, I think most people know what it is, but it's just this belief that people think you're more successful than you really are, and in fact, if they knew the truth, you'd be called out as a fraud. So for me, one of another reason I wanted to be part of the book is because speaking about imposter syndrome is something I'm passionate about. I want to get the word out so that people understand if they're dealing with this, and I lived with it for over 2 decades without even knowing. And it really does hold you back from speaking up. It holds you back from really honoring what you bring to the table. So for me, I look back and I see so many situations where it impacted my life, but it's still there today. But I know how to deal with it now. I know when it's showing up, and I can just say goodbye. I don't need you anymore. But the last couple of years, I was invited to go and speak over in Vancouver to a group of women in cybersecurity on how to deal with, it was called layoff to lift off. And I can talk about this. I help people with this all the time. But in my head, this little voice said, well, you don't really know anything about cybersecurity. You don't really belong in that room, which was crazy. But so I said no at first. And then I thought about it and I slept on it. And in the morning I called up and I called Artie, my friend, and I said, Artie, I'm ready to do that. She said, well, that's fantastic because we don't just want you to be on the panel. We want you to be our keynote speaker. So by just getting rid of imposter syndrome and saying, I can do this. And it turned out to be a wonderful experience. I have a number of clients who were very dear to my heart that I met through doing that. But it's that overcoming that reluctance and that story that says you're not good enough to talk to these people and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. And I think that's really powerful. I think that's what a lot of the women in this book have done. And it makes us relatable. It helps other people learn from our experiences and join the dots for themselves. That's why I'm so excited to be part of this book. And big shout out to Erica, who has just been wonderful in terms of showcasing all of our chapters. She was such a generous spirit and love you to bits. And hope to collaborate with you in future because I see some definite synergies between what you do and what I do. Thank you.
Fantastic. I love that. And I want to speak to that because that's one of the things that these collaboration books do. And I'd love for Kathy to speak to that as well. You know, we've published many together, and, you know, we at Action Takers Publishing, we published over 50 books in the last 4 years. And so it's been an incredible journey. But talking about that collaboration piece, right? Like how you're connected with people of like mind because you're in like in a book that has the same sort of topic. And so now you're able to connect with like-minded people because of that. And so it's a collaboration book is a great way to bridge a potential gap that you didn't even know was there. So I just love Kathy to speak to that, just briefly about the collaborations that you've seen happen among, you said now it's been 9 books that you yourself have curated and that have been published. And so what are some of the collaborations that you've seen come out of these, Kathy?
There's been so many connections and collaborations and friendships and just lifting each other when there's something to celebrate, supporting each other when there's something that, you know, someone's lost their job or they've lost a family member or, you know, and to me, that is one of the big parts of these books. And what I really aim to create in all of my books is its own little community inside the group. And I think that seems like just the way we were talking now, and you know, the camaraderie in the group, and I think everybody in the room right now was on the billboard in Times Square in November, and we're doing that again in March, and Raquel actually came in person, and it was great to see her and be connected. And it just, you know, you step into that space when you're together, and it just feels like you've known each other forever. And that's one of the things that we have group Zoom meetings in our community. We have a LinkedIn chat for each book where everybody can meet each other, connect with each other easily, connect and collaborate. And I find for me, that is one of my favorite parts of these books is the connections, the doors that open that you didn't even see before. To me, that is one of the big things that these books bring about. And that key part is you didn't even see that door before. It's always been there, but you didn't even see it until you were in this space with these other people. And then as that door opens, whether it's in speaking opportunities, whether it's in, you know, other collaborations with other people, that's the magic to me, is those collaborations, those doors opening, that feeling of connectedness. And I think especially, you know, when we look at, do I do a solo book or do I do a collaborative book? That to me is one of the huge differences. Sitting alone, typing away, creating this thing that you're not sure if anyone even wants to read, versus being in a space with a bunch of other people who are feeling that same way, but we're doing it together. And somehow that removes some of that imposter syndrome. It removes some of that feeling of, well, no one wants to hear my story, or I'm not an author, and all those other silly little voices that we have. And as part of my books, one of my books is a series for women in STEM. And I would say that that's an area where I've seen the most real, like notable collaboration, because they are in an industry where they can support each other very directly and very clearly and obviously. And so we're working on our third book in the STEM series right now, and that's always inspiring. I would say one of the obvious things too, and a lot of the other books, is those opportunities for speaking. And like Sue was saying, she got into doing a lot. You've been doing a lot of different speaking things in the last few years, and so getting onto podcasts, getting into summits, all those kind of things, I would say are some of the obvious connections between people and opportunities that come up. Everybody's saying, hey, I'm doing this. You know, if somebody does have a post that they want everybody else to connect with, or if they're doing some speaking thing that they want some support with, or that kind of thing, you know, we do that within the community. So that is definitely one of my favorite things about these books.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Kathy. And I've had the same experience too with our collaboration books. as well as we've seen some people even do business deals together, or doing summits together, like, oh, let's do a summit together because we are like-minded, and so we have something in common that we can do a summit with. So there are so many different opportunities, like Kathy shared. What I want to do next is I'm going to go around and have everybody talk a little bit, without giving it away, just a little bit about your chapter. So I'm going to start with Beverly. Beverly, the title of your chapter is Breaking Free, my midlife journey to a life of purpose and passion. And before, Beverly, before you start speaking of, you're telling us a little bit about it, we're talking about this book here, Midlife Reimagined. These are some of the authors in the book, and you can get your copy of the book by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/midlife. Go ahead and get a copy of the book today. And so far, we are #1 in 13 different categories in 3 different countries. So congratulations, everybody, for being a #1 international best-selling author. And let's keep the momentum going. Of course, Erica has her pom-pom. She's like that playful, right? I'm gonna have to get a pom-pom. I'm gonna have to get some little emotional guys. I'm gonna have to get all that kind of stuff because that's a lot of fun. So Beverly, your chapter title, Breaking Free, My Midlife Journey to a Life of Purpose and Passion. Why don't you share with us a little bit about your chapter without giving it away?
How do you talk about a chapter without giving it away? I I want to start by saying, putting this chapter together, it made me reflect on my journey from where I was to where I am now. And that's pretty much what my chapter is about. It's about me realizing what my passion is. So come back. Can we come back to me?
What was that?
I said the dogs are barking. Can we come back to
Oh,
me? Sorry.
okay. We'll come back to Beverly. Give her a little time to think about that. Okay, so let's go to Kathy. I'm going to go in what I can see is alphabetical order here on my screen. Kathy, midlife is a time to step into new possibilities. Tell us a little bit about your chapter.
Yeah, that's really the big focus of everything I do, is helping midlife women to see that we are surrounded by so many opportunities and possibilities, and to get over, I would say, what our culture has taught us all of our life, that after 50 you're old and obsolete and no one needs to hear what you have to say. You might as well just go sit in a corner and putter for a while. And I would say that's kind of the old model of our culture, and I am here to be a spokesperson for all midlife women, that we are not doing that. We are not sitting in the corner quietly. We are not old and obsolete. We are experienced. We are filled with wisdom. And now is the time for us to step into opportunities and possibilities, even if they're completely different than anything we've ever done before in our life.
When you said we're not obsolete, it made me think of like, oh yeah, we're just getting new tires, like nice and fresh new tires, a new car, nice and shiny and everything. So, thanks, Kathy, so much. And next up we have Dr. Erica. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Erica. And the title of your chapter is Don't Get Too Excited. Tell us a little bit about that chapter without telling us about that chapter.
Yeah, so there are things people will say to you, and you don't even realize how much they hold you down until maybe one day you do realize, and you're like, huh, is that true? Do I actually have to live by that? Is that actually good advice? And so I help people go through, figure out if that's good advice, and then what do you do with that information? Because now you're stuck with, well, now I don't know what to do. Were they right? Am I right? What do you do? And how do you kind of go from feeling that uncertainty into figuring out, who are you? What do you want out of it? And why is it possible that you could trust yourself? And how do you get even excited about the thing it is that you'd like to do?
Oh, that's so good, because, I think a lot of times we don't know what we want. And so having somebody to bounce it off of, that they help us to really to start thinking about it. So thank you so much. That's awesome. Next up, we have Raquel. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Raquel, and share with us. The title of your chapter is Finding My Way Back to Me. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that without telling us all about it?
That chapter made me reflect on just the amount of hurdles that I had gone through And because of all those setbacks, realizing that I just I wasn't Raquel. And so the chapter covers the journey of going through all of those hurdles and then somehow finding my way back to me, and what it took to get there.
Awesome. And you have to read the chapter to find out what it took for her to get there. Again, go to actiontakerspublishing.com, get your copy of Midlife Reimagined, actiontakerspublishing.com/midlife. So next up, we have Sue. I'm going to spotlight you, Sue. Sue, go ahead and share with us a little bit about your chapter, Finding Fulfillment, a guide to navigating midlife transitions and avoiding pitfalls.
Yep. Well, most of what I do with my clients is helping them through a transition, and many of them are in midlife. So my chapter is about sharing my story. I mentioned earlier I had a couple of life quakes. I'm not going to tell you both of them, but one of them actually was my darling dad being diagnosed with a terminal illness. And it made me really reflect and realize that I wasn't living the life I wanted to live. And I'd been thinking about becoming a coach for years, and it sort of pushed me towards actually making that leap. And so I share that story. I wish, to be honest, I'm not a big one for regrets, but I do wish I'd had my coaching training years earlier, because I could have helped Dad so much more be more at peace in his later years. But anyway, as I say, lesson learned, but I've done it now. I've been coaching for 12 years, and then so I'm sharing signs that you're ready to make the change, because knowing it, that first awareness is the first step in making change. The steps that I recommend, that based on my experience with coaching people, that make sense for you if you're going to make that kind of change, and some pitfalls to avoid, because we always want to have as much success as possible. So just having an insight into that as well. So there's quite a lot in that chapter, a little bit about my story, but also some really helpful tools and action items. And I've actually had some feedback already from people saying how helpful it's been. So thank you for this vehicle to be able to help people navigate those midlife transitions. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic. I love hearing that it's already helping people. So that's great. And that's why we write these books, right? We put them out there in order to help people through whatever situation they're going through. And I did see that, somebody wrote that, sometimes I still don't know if my story, telling my story, why should I put it out there? Really thinking about that. I think that most of us don't realize the power of our stories. I'm going to share a story to share with you how we're all the same in that. I was attending an event where there were, it was an ESPN event. And so there were a lot of, they were all sports figures. We had Olympians, we had, NFL, NBA, we had all these different sports figures that were there. One of them was a 3-time Olympian. And he's only 24 years old. So he's a young guy with 3 Olympic medals. And I was asking him if he was ready to tell his story, because that's why I was there, was to talk about books. And he was like, I don't have anything in, why would anybody want to read my story? And I'm like, this is a 3-time Olympian, y'all. Okay, so the point here is that we go through this. It doesn't matter who we are, what stage in life we are, what we're doing, what our experiences are. There is something that somebody out there needs to hear about our story. And especially when we're people who are not those celebrities, because it helps them to see that I'm just a regular person. They're just a regular person. They went through this. They made it through it. This is how they did it. This is what we do, is we are able to, through our stories, storytelling has been around since the very beginning of time. And it is through our stories that people relate to us and connect with us. And so this is the power of us sharing our story. So oftentimes it's like, the question is though, what part of my story should I tell? What message do I want to share? And what's the lesson that people can walk away with after reading my story? So those are the 3 questions to ask yourself, and that will help you to see that there is something. And if there are people telling you that you need to write a book, there's a reason for that, because they believe in your story. They believe in the power of it. Just because you don't doesn't mean it's not there. So I just want you to think about that and like explore how to do that. You know, when I hop on calls with people, I will hear them talk about their story. And I'm like, this is your topic right here. Like they didn't even know it. Why? Because they lived it. It's no big deal. I just lived it. But it is a big deal. How did you get there? So I asked that Olympian, have you ever had a time where you stumbled and fell? And he said, oh yeah, all the time. I said, well, what do you do? How do you pick yourself back up? Well, I have a coach who helps me. So he has somebody who helps him through those journeys. And so it's really thinking about like, how did he get through that? How did you become an Olympian? That's a story, right? There's a story there, but there's a story. How did you become a speaker? You know, the questions coming up here in our chat that you guys can't see on Facebook, but questions coming up like, I want to learn to speak. You know, I want to do that. How did you do that? Those are the questions we answer for people by telling our stories. And it doesn't always have to be like a how to, but just by telling your story helps them see how you did it. So there's so much power in our stories. And so I say, you know, tell as much as you want. I tell as little as you want, but get the story out there, get the point out there and help people along their journeys. So there, I'm off my soapbox of that. We have just a couple of minutes left and I want to bring up Susan Louie. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And your chapter is titled She Thrives. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about it and
Right.
without telling us about it.
Well, I wanted to go just piggyback on what Erica said. So when she was talking about what she does with coaching, I do the same thing in terms of I interpret with the client, but then what I do is I interrupt it so that they get to see today who they are today. It's not who they were back then when they made the decisions. And then I reinstall a whole new story of what they want today and why they, yeah, of course, why they came to me. So yeah, like Erica and I, we need to talk. And we probably all need to share that because we probably all do very something similar, you know, a little different. But what I do want to say is today, okay, I am 74, but it wasn't until I was 70 that I did what I say in my book and heal people now. And it all started when I only have two sons. My second one, when he left to New York, I'm in New Jersey. I came home after dropping off all his stuff in the last carload, and I had panic attacks in the car. I couldn't get out. I couldn't come in my house. I don't know what it was. When you have, I don't know if anyone's had a panic attack, but I don't know. I just wanted to die. Whatever, why, who knows? I didn't know. But anyway, so eventually I had a friend of mine who was a therapist and she guided me to get into the house. But once I got into the house, I started like learning and researching what panic attacks were. And I accidentally ran into or learned about Marissa Peer. And she was on YouTube. So I did what she was saying. And she was saying what I do now about the self-hypnosis. So I got rid of the panic attacks, which was the anxiety. And it all stems from when I was little out of fear. And that's what my chapter is about, the whole fear, you know, the poverty and the child neglect and my mom incarcerated, my dad, absentee dad, and homeless coming into the house. And there they were. So that's what my chapter is about. And so what I did is I learned about the self-hypnosis. I got rid of my Hashimoto's. I'm a runner. I got rid of all my pain, my back, my knees, my legs, everything. I got rid of my low self-esteem, because if you grow up in poverty, you come from scarcity and inadequacy, and you have all these limiting thoughts and low self-esteem and confidence. Oh, I got rid of all of that, obviously, because I wouldn't be doing what I do today. So that's all I wanted to say.
Also, congratulations on all the successes. That is so fantastic. And she does thrive, right? She thrives, 74.
I do.
So we're going to bring back
before.
Beverly. I'm going to bring back Beverly. We have 2 minutes left, so we're going to keep it really short. Beverly, I'm going to
Yes.
spotlight you, and we're going to go back to your chapter, which is titled Breaking Free, My Midlife Journey to a Life of Purpose and Passion.
It's in the title. It's about my journey to purpose and passion. And starting from working in a place where I am frozen.
We can see and hear you.
Okay, I am frozen on my screen. So I'm in a place where everybody would love to be, but how many people have been in that situation where everyone thinks that your life is what it is, but it really isn't, and you know that there's more out there for you. And I have always felt that I am not supposed to be working for some other entity. I need to be working for myself and living my best life, the life of my own design. And then my chapter is about how I get to where I am now, retired, and building that life that I am designing.
Fantastic. I love it. Living your life by your design. Amazing, amazing. Ladies, it's been a pleasure having you here today. Congratulations on the launch of your book, Midlife Reimagined. And this is now a #1 international best-selling book in 3 different countries, Australia, Canada, and the United States, in 13 different categories. We're looking for more categories now because the more the better. It's always more fun that way. So let's get out there, share the book. Again, you can get your copy by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/midlife. Get your copy of the book, help these ladies to hit that #1 and more categories. And so thank you so much for being here, for sharing your stories, your message, getting it out there into the world. And everybody have an amazing day, amazing holidays. And let's go into 2026 with our Midlife Reimagined. Everybody have a great day.